Hi, everybody. So hopefully you'll be able to see my screen here in a minute. I got to do a couple things on my other computer. Get started here. It looks like it's came up, so that's good. Got to get my sound turned down. Hi, everybody. Just a second here. I'm working on the other computer. Okay. Hi, Lynn. Oh, people are starting to come in. Hello. Can you see my screen? Hopefully you can hear me too. Hi, Colleen. Hi, Deb. Hi, Melanie. Oh, people are coming in. Is everybody hearing me okay? And you can see my screen. I'm having a little trouble getting my tablet set up here. Just a second. There we go. Trying to get, I have to always have my tablet when I do screen sharing because I can't see what's going on, on the, I can't tell what people are saying or anything without a second computer. So how is everybody tonight? It's awfully warm. I had to mow this morning and it was even hot at like 10 o'clock this morning. It very humid. So it looked like we were going to get rain. So I went out to get the mowing done before it rained, and it didn't actually rain. But boy, the rain was sure coming from the south. But it dissipated before it got here. So is everybody seeing my screen? Okay. So we're going to talk about Canvas Workspace tonight. Canvas Workspace is the free software that comes with your scan and cut. Oh, oh no, you had to take your dog to the vet? Oh golly. That's too bad. I always hate it when you have to take your animals to the vet because you don't know what's wrong with them. Mine are all sleeping out here. Hi, Teresa. Oh, hi, Marianne. There's a bunch of people coming in. Okay, well, we'll wait just a few minutes until people kind of get in. Sometimes people have trouble finding me, so I like to wait just a little bit. Hi, Marilyn. Hi, Kay. And Janan. Carol Young. Hi, Carol. Oh, that's right. This is your first time, isn't it, Carol? I've had some new people this last week, so so hopefully everybody's hearing me. So anyway, this is the free software that comes with your scan and cut. And so just so you know, there are two versions of this software. There is one that you can use online, and there is one that you can download to your computer. So the one that I'm going to show you tonight is the one that is online because I find it easier to use, and the versions are different. Like if you have a PC, your version that you download will look different than a person with a Mac. So when I teach classes, I like everybody to have the same software. So we're going to use the one online. And frankly, this is the one I use probably 90% of the time. I don't really care for the one that's downloadable. There are, however, a couple of things that you have to do on the one that you download to your computer. And I'll show you where you download that in a minute. There are a couple of things that you have to do in that, but there's also a couple of things that you have to do on the one online. So I do have the downloadable version on my computer. I just don't use it very often. What was frustrating to me as a teacher is that the Mac and the PC version look different. So it's real hard when you have people in a class if they have different computers. They don't look the same. And then the other thing is that the interfaces between the one on the computer and the one online look completely different. So it's like learning two softwares. So I have been using the one online for a long time, and I like it. For the most part, there are a couple of things that are a little bit of a problem, but you can work your way around that. Okay. Oh, hi, Clara. Clara has a new scan and cut too, don't you? Hi, Maria. So all kinds of people coming in. I can't tell who all's here. I'm trying to see how many people we have in here, but it's not telling me. Oh, here we go. Yeah, now I can kind of see. Okay. Oh my goodness, there's all kinds of people here. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to do an overview of the software tonight. I'm not going to do a lot of actual creating in the software. I want you to get familiar with the way it looks. Also, where the buttons are, that type of thing, how to do the basic using of the software. And there, I will upload to Dropbox on the group. I have a manual. There's a manual, and I'll show you another place to get it, but I have the manual. There's a wireless setup for your machine, for your scan and cut with the software. And then there's also there was 3 files I had to upload. Let me look at it. We'll look at them together here. All right, I can't remember what the third one is. Okay, so there's a computer version. So they did have a little tiny manual for the computer version. There's one for the online version. There is, and then the wireless setup booklet that I wanted you to have. And I'm going to upload those to Dropbox so that you have those. I will show you where to get some of these when we get into the software, because you can actually get them right out of the software. But this way you will have another option of getting them. And then I'm going to show you a couple of things. I'm going to show you how to import something. So there's a really cute little rolled flower that was a freebie off of a website I got. And then there was also we're going to trace the scan and cut logo so you can see how the tracing function works in the software. But as we get into doing some more projects on the scan and cut, then we will use the software more, because I do a lot of my projects in the software because I have a little more flexibility in software than I do on the machine. And also obviously the screen's larger, so it's easier to see what you're doing. Okay. We will talk more about the downloadable version of the software, but I'm not going to be working in that tonight. I'd highly recommend you starting, especially if you've never used the software much, to start with the online version. I think it's easier. I think it's more intuitive where the buttons are and stuff. And there are a couple things I can't do in it, but for the most part, I don't need those things. So, and then I use the one on my computer. So we're going to talk mostly about the one that's online tonight. Okay. So let me get back to the software here. And I have to go back to this one. I have to make sure I get on the right browser. Okay. So where you go to get to the software, you also need to register. So if you have not made yourself an account for Canvas Workspace, you do have to have an account, whether you use the software online or the software on your computer. You still have to do this. So this is where you're going to go to get your account for your free software. Okay. You want to go to canvasworkspace.brother.com. And that's where I am right now. This is the main page of that. And this is where you will then register to get your account with Canvas Workspace so you can get your free software. Okay. So all you have to do is click the register button. I'm not going to do this tonight. I think most of you know what to do here. You kind of have to read, the first little page here and go down at the very bottom, and then you have to agree to it and then click register. And then you will then fill in, make a login ID, a password, put your name and your birth date and all that stuff in. And I think you guys can handle that. That's something that's pretty normal. They do send you a little email that you have to click on the link in it in order to finish the registration so that you can go log in. Okay, so we're not going to do that tonight. I think most of you can handle that, but you do need to go do that to get your free software. Okay, so for those of you who have not done that, remember the link is canvasworkspace.brother.com. So that's where you go to get your free software. Okay, so let's go back to that main page again. I already have an account. So if you don't, you click register. I already have an account, so I'm going to click login. And I have my username already, so I'll just go ahead and log in to the software. I've been using this for a long time. When it first came out, it was a little bare. It didn't have a whole lot of options, but now they've added quite a few things. They've added a few extra things now in the downloadable version. So now we'll talk about that a little bit. When you first log into your account, you'll notice here on my screen that there is a little window that pops up that says the PC version of Canvas Workspace has been upgraded. I have that on my computer, and then there's a download button down here. Okay, so since it knows I have a PC, the software knows I have a PC, so I'll download the PC version. If you have a Mac, you can download the Mac version here. Okay, so it opens right up for you to get the downloadable version of this software. Okay, so I do have it on my computer because there are a couple things I have to do in there, but we're going to talk about the online one first, and then we'll talk about the other one once we get to a project we need it for. Okay, so I'm just going to click closed here because I already have this on my computer. If I minimize this for a second, you will be able to see my software is right here. It says Brother Canvas Workspace. It's like a little colorful kind of a hexagon shaped icon on my desktop. So that is it. Okay. All right. So when you open up your account for Canvas Workspace, this is the main page that opens up. And they have like tons of free designs and patterns in here. I mean, it is so cool because when they first started doing this, they didn't have all these, and all of a sudden they started adding these. So the first page is all the freebies. I mean, there are tons of freebies, and they have things for seasons. They have things made out of paper. They have things for vinyl. They have things for rhinestones. They have, remember the cute little canvas, the cover that we made for the Scan and Cut? I got the right here. It's right here. Here's they put them actually on the Scan and Cut, but I used them from my cover. So that's where the designs came from. So they just have tons of stuff. They have things for embossing and things for foiling. I mean, like all the stuff is here. So the gals that some of the gals that do these classes, they just are so creative. So if you want something fun to make, just log into this Canvas Workspace, and they add stuff like all the time. So just log in here and browse down through here and find something fun to make. I mean, I have made, and I like to use these for classes too. So I often use some of these for the classes because you can all get them for free. So anyway, that's the main page of Canvas when it works up, when it turns on. Okay. The other thing I wanted you to know is that you can log into Canvas workspace.brother.com and then log in on your tablet. So if you just want to, if you're sitting in, like I often do this, I'll be sitting in bed and I'll want to design a little something, or I need to get something done. I can actually use it on my tablet, or on my, if you have an iPad, it'll work on that as well. So it looks very much like what you're going to see here, just a little bit different because of the size of the screen, but it is available for your tablet or your iPad as well. Okay, so there's basically 3 versions of this software. Okay, I want to show you a little bit about this page first. We talked about all these wonderful freebies that are up here. There are different tabs though across this. Canvas Project, that's the first tab that opens, and those are all the freebies. Then the next one says My Projects. Well, if I click on that one, it's going to load all of my projects that I have done in this software. And like, here are my designs that we used the other night, you know, when we did our cover for our scan and cut. Here's the ends that I made the lettering on them, you know, so you have the pattern. I've got my little Sew Along with Jan logo in here. You know, these are just all things that I have made or I'm going to use to cut out. A bunch of these down in here are like my, the gal that I like, Doris from Fabrications. A lot of these are the designs that I'm going to cut out and make her designs. So these are all things that I've done over the years, you know, and they're all stored here. There's rhinestone designs. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff. Okay, so that's my projects, and that's how you can access them. The next one over is the pattern collections. And the pattern collections are the different collections that are available from Brother that you can purchase. So if you look on mine, a couple of these, the little padlocks are open. Some of them are locked. So that means I don't own that one. And I'll show you then in a little bit how to register these if you buy them. And like what you do, the other thing you can do here is you can actually show all. So like if I wanted to show this calligraphy starter kit one, I could look at the pictures of the designs that are on that collection. So it's nice because then you can see if you like it first before you buy it. Oh, Jan, the scan and cut cover, I put a folder, it's on Dropbox on the group. So you go to Sew Along with Jan, and the very first post on the group is the Dropbox link. And it's in there under scan and cut cover. I think it just says scan and cut cover. Okay. So this was neat because then they give you the chance to look, you know, at these designs. They also give you there's some Disney designs that are available for the scan and cut. And so I do own a couple of the Disney ones too. And those can be looked at here. Now you can only use the Disney. This is one of the things. You can only use Disney designs from the online version of the software. They cannot be used from on the computer version. So that's one thing about, you have to use both of them. There are times when you have to use both of them. Okay, so there's the Disney. So these are all these little tabs across here when you open this up. We're going to talk about a couple of the other tabs here in a minute. Okay, so the first thing you need to do in order to use your software is go to canvasworkspace.brother.com and get your account. All right, so do that. Then you'll be able to get into this like I am. And then you can start creating your own designs. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you, I'll reference a few page numbers because the manual that I will put up on the group, and also the other place you can access the manual. If you look across the top of this page, there's a little question mark on the right hand side. If you click on the question mark, there are the manuals and stuff are here. So the manual is just under help. It's the first one, and that's actually the manual for the online version of Canvas Workspace. There's also like the rhinestone function, the printable sticker function, the image tracing function. There's a couple of other manuals here as well, but the main manual for the software is here under the little question mark, okay, under help. So it's way over here on the right. Okay, so now I want to start a project. So let's say I want to make my project. I need to get into the software so I can make my project. So on this Canvas project tab, where all the freebies are, there is a little button that says new. So I'm going to click on new, and this is roughly starting on page 4 of the manual. Okay, so I'll reference some page numbers so that when you go back and watch maybe the video again and kind of work along, then if you don't have the manual now, you'll know what page they were on. Okay. So we talked a little bit about, you know, the Canvas projects on that last page. We talked about, my projects. That was one of the tabs. The pattern collections, Disney. Okay. So we just clicked new, and here is the actual software. So this is what it looks like. There are some things, let's talk about some of the toolbars so you know what is on the toolbar and what you do with them. So the first toolbar we're going to talk about is this top one right along the top here. Okay. And the first thing says project title. Well, you name your project there. So like if I have a project up here and I want to name it, that's where I'm going to put my name. And we'll do that in just a minute. Okay. The next icon over, and if you hover your mouse over it, just so you know, hopefully you can see this on the screen, it does tell you what the name of the icon is. So the next one over says create a new project. So if you're done with the one you're doing and need to make a new one, that's the button you press. So it's create a new project. The next one is overwrite this project. In other words, it is save. I think it must be a translation from Japanese to English. So it is save, the second one, the one with a little arrow, like an arrow going down to the computer. The next icon over is image tracing. So we're gonna trace an image here in a little bit on the software so you can see how to do that. The next one over, and again, when you hover your mouse, it'll tell you what it's called. This is the import button. So you can import SVG files. So if you have some of those, like from the Kimberbell CDs or whatever, you can bring in DXF. That's another type of cutting file, or FCMs. That's where you would bring in those files. FCM is the native format for the scan and cut. So this is where you could bring those in. So let's say you needed to alter that design or add to that design. That's how you bring them into the software to do that. Okay. Now I'm reading through some notes, so I'll have to turn my page here. The next button over is the select tool, the little arrow. That's kind of normal for a lot of softwares. The next tool is the path tool. Path means, in other words, it's a drawing tool. Okay, that one you would click back and forth to draw with it. The next one looks like a little pencil, and it is the freehand path or the pencil. So you hold your mouse button down and then you would draw freehand on the screen. Okay. Then the next icons that are grayed out, because I don't have anything on my screen yet. Undo, redo, those are very common ones that we're used to seeing in a lot of software. Delete, that's a little trash can. And then there's show properties. So the properties is like the little square with the little lines on it. It's sort of like the settings button on our sewing machines. It's like a piece of paper with the little words on it. Okay. Then over here where it says 26% on my screen, that is actually the zoom. And then there's a zoom tool, which is the little spyglass along this bar. Okay. So do those all sound like pretty typical icons and on the toolbar? So they're fairly common to most softwares. Okay. So that is the toolbar. That's the main toolbar. All right. But there's also some tabs at the top of that toolbar. So we're going to talk about those a little bit. The tabs some of these are also on the toolbar, like what's under the tab, but this is like the main place. So this is more like a file menu. Okay. So like if I would click on the project tab, I will also have some of these on that other toolbar that we just looked at. So like, here's, create a new project. Here is save, which is out there, or overwrite this project. There's also a save as button. So that's not on the other one, but that's where save as is. There's also a little thing that says count shapes. So every now and then I need to know exactly how many items I have on the screen, and it'll help me count all the shapes that are on there. I don't use it very often, but it comes in handy occasionally. Again, this is also on that other toolbar, image tracing. So we'll talk about that in a minute. And the import button. Also on project, this is where you change your mat size. So if you, right here, I have the 12 by 12 mat. So let's say we need to work with the larger mat, which is 12 by 24. I can then change it to the bigger mat, so then I have that mat up on my workspace, so I can be working with the larger mat. All right, so that's under project, the project tab. You may notice now, if you are working along in the software at all, you may notice that I have some other sizes here, and that is because I have some premium sets that you can buy, so that it would have added some other little sizes of mats here. So some of them are for the sticker kit and some stuff like that. So that's why I have maybe extra ones that you aren't seeing on your computer. Okay, then so that's under project. The next one over, the tab, is called edit. Now edit is very typical. Sorry, I need a drink. We have undo, redo, cut, copy, paste, duplicate. So a lot of these are going to sound familiar. Group, ungroup, select all, delete. So that's what's under the edit tab. These are very common ones. Now there's a couple that are going to be different that you may not have seen. I've used some other cutting software. So like this one here is called, this is going to be I always forget the name of this one. Oh, it's the, sorry, I have to turn the page. It adds the circles around, around the outsides and the insides. I can't remember what they call it. Since it's grayed out, it won't come up and tell me. That one is used a lot with cutting software, because then you can add like outlines. So it's add an outline. I think it's just add an outline. There's alignment tools. You can flip, and then you can reorder things. So like you can do front to back and stuff like that. You can change the order that they will cut. And then there's some overlapping stuff at the bottom, like, there's weld, divide, remove, and subtract. And those are things that there's a couple of projects I'd like to do, and we will use those tools down there. So these are words and names that are a little more specific to cutting software. If you've ever used like Silhouette software, or I use SureCuts a lot, these are very common words. I'm starting to see these same kind of things in like in digitizing software as well. So they're kind of starting to work together more, the digitizing software and the cutting softwares. So they're getting to be a little bit more similar with some of their words. Okay, so that's the edit tab. So we will use the edit tab. And then view. Oh, hi, Denise. Now view. Whoops, I got to turn my page here. View allows us to, like fit to the mat, fit to selection. This is the zoom stuff on the top. And then down below it says show only cutting lines, show only drawing lines. I can actually tell a line that I make on the mat if I want it to be a drawing line or a cutting line. And then the machine reads it as a drawing line and a cutting line. So that's something that I have done, like when I did the scan and cut cover, that's how I did the words. I made those drawing, and I made the outline a cutting line. So that's what you can do, is you can go in and the software will tell the machine what it is, what type of line. Let's see, if we have our units down here, this is under view. Oops, sorry, gotta click on it again. Units is at the bottom, so that you can tell it to be in inches or in millimeters. I usually have mine in inches. And then the last tab up here, whoops, got to get it to go away. There we go. The last tab is the premium tab. And under premium, these are some of the things that you would have purchased. So like I have almost all the premium functions. They're also shown right above the words Canvas Workspace here. The rhinestone, the printable sticker, the stamp, the embossing, the foiling, and the enhanced image tracing. So these are some of the premium ones, and it gives you these little pictures up here. So you may not have those on yours if you don't have those. Under the premium tab, I have the rhinestone functions. So this is where I can add my, like I can insert rhinestones. There's a wizard that I can use. That is part of the rhinestone function. And then there's the printable sticker function. And that also has some specialized tools and a little wizard to use for that premium package. So, okay. So you may not have these things under premium, or you may not even have a premium tab yet if you don't have any of those premium functions. Okay. All right. So are there any questions? I'm just kind of going over what the toolbars and stuff are. We're going to get into a little, I'm going to show you some stuff here in a minute, but I just wanted you to, do these kind of sound familiar compared to some of the other softwares you've seen? Hopefully the toolbars and stuff sound somewhat familiar to you. I'll wait a second and see if anybody has a question before we go on to the next part. This software is actually, they've done a lot to it over the last few years, and it's actually quite easy to use, and it's easy to learn if you've never learned a cutting software before. So this is a very good one to start with. And that's why I chose the online version, because it is, I think, easier. Yes, Wendy, all of the premiums are still available. Yep, because there's the rhinestone kit. Yeah, they're all available. The rhinestone kit's really cool if you like rhinestones. It has a bunch of cool designs and stuff with it too. So, okay. So we will go on to the next menus. And so this is something that we'll need to talk about a little bit. The first menu, I'm going to talk about the little menus over here on the right. We already talked about the help menu. That's where that manual is. And there's a couple of other manuals there. But the first one in this little area looks like the little person, and it has my login name. So this is your account information. So if I click on my account information, this is a very important place because you will need to go in here to do some things. Okay. So this is where you can change your user information settings, like your password and all that stuff. Okay. This is also the place, and I'm going to click on machine registration. This is where you need to go in, register your machine. You will get a PIN code so that your machine and the software will talk to one another and can be wireless. So one of the manuals that I'm going to upload to Dropbox tonight will be the entire instruction sheet on how to get your machine set up wireless. So the first thing you have to do with that is you have to get your machine on the internet on your router at home. That's the first step. Then you have to come in here. You have to click that little button that said register your machine. And then this machine registration, you have to go in there and get started and get your PIN code. And it'll ask, there's a little button there that said register a new machine. And when you click on that, it's going to walk you through the process. There's a number on the machine itself that you will need, and then you will need to put a couple things in, and then it will give you a 4-digit number. You go back to your scan and cut and put that 4-digit number in, and then they will talk to one another. Okay, so that one of the manuals that I'm going to put up on the group in Dropbox will have all of that information, so you can go step by step, and it's very easy. You just follow the steps and it will really walk you through it, because you'll definitely want to do that. So that's in this account settings area, machine registration. Okay, the other thing that's here is the pattern collection activation. So I was going to show you, I have a couple of pattern collections that I own. I own quite a few. So I scanned a couple of these cards. So you can buy these at the store. But here's a couple of the cards that I own. Like I own the Disney, the Minnie and Mickey Mouse paper crafting collection. I own several of these tattered lace collections. And I also own this one over here on the left is my enhanced tracing information. Okay. On those cards, Wendy, I believe you can have either 2 or 3 machines registered at a time now. It used to only be 1, but I believe you can do 3 now. It used to only be 1, but which is nice. So like these cards that you buy are usually folded in half, and then on one side of the card is going to be a number. Okay, and you can see my enhanced tracing number here. And since it's activated, you know, no one else can activate it because it's already been activated. So I wanted to show you what these look like with the number. So I need this, there's like a 16-digit number, okay? So let me download, go back to the browser here. Okay, so when we get in here to pattern collection activation, it asks me for that number. So you get that number off of the card you buy, and then you hit activate, and that's how you get extra designs and so on. So I have there's a bunch of designs they have. And when you log in, remember when we logged in, we could look at all of the different ones that were available. You can kind of look at what's in those collections, and then you may want to go ahead and purchase some of those. Okay. I have some of the Disney ones. Like here's some of my Disney ones. It has a list of some of the ones I have. So I have a couple of Disney ones. I have the calligraphy one. I have some of the tattered lace ones. And then there's a 125 set that came with something else that I got. So that's part of that area for pattern collection activation. Okay. So then we also talked about the premium functions, you know, like the rhinestones and the calligraphy is another one. That's one of the newer ones. There's a paper piercing one. I haven't done that one yet. I've had that one, but I haven't done it yet. You know, the rhinestones, the sticker kits, the foiling, those are all premium functions. And so this is where you would go to activate those. So they also will have those little cards in them with the numbers, and you would type in the number and click activate. Okay, so that this is all in that account settings area. So like here's some of my premium activations. I have the rhinestones, the printable, the stamps, the embossing. I've got my roll feeder. That's, you have to do your roll feeder also. The paper piercing says it's not activated. I just bought it, so I haven't got that activated yet. Okay, so those are all in that area. So this is a very important area to remember. That this is where all of that stuff becomes active. It is where, you know, your premium functions and your patterns become activated, and also where you register your machine with the machine, so the software and the machine will talk wirelessly. Okay, so that's that area. I'm going to then the next one over from there, the account settings, the next one over is my projects. So if I'm in the middle of something and I want to look at my projects again, if I click on that button again, then it takes me back to that main screen that we were on, and I can look at all my projects again. Okay, so it gives you another place to get back there. Okay, so we're back at the main screen again. I'm going to go back and hit new. So we're back on the workspace again. And then the next one over on that little area is the log out. So that's where you log out of your account. Okay, that's pretty straightforward. And then again, the question mark is the help, and that's where some of the manuals are. And you can download them from here. But I will put the actual manual up on the group as well. There was a little manual that's for the downloadable version. There's one for this. This one's about 30 pages long. And then there was the one about the wireless transfer setup. Okay, so I'll put those all up on Dropbox tonight. Okay, so is everybody with me so far? So now we're ready to start having a little fun and talking about how some of this stuff works. We're going to talk a little bit about the stuff on the left now, and then we'll start working in the software a little bit. So on the left-hand side is the first thing is this download button. That's pretty straightforward. When we get a design up here, we need to download it so that we can put it on our scan and cut, either wirelessly or to a stick. So that's how we would do it. We click download. Okay. We can also access a lot of things. Whoops, second here. Over here on the left, I can get again to my projects. So if I click there, I can get to all my projects. That's where we can also get to them a couple other ways, but there they are. Okay. There's a little back button up here. So I'm going to click back, return to the categories. Now there's a button that says basic. Basic is all your basic shapes. And a lot of these are on the machine as well. So there's tons of shapes you can use to create things. So if I click on one of these, so let's just click on one. How about this square with the rounded corners? So I'll just click on one and it shows up on my workspace. Okay. Then I can hit the back button again. There's another one that says border. The borders are borders. So they're going to be like, here's one of the borders. I just clicked on it. And I can resize those. We'll talk about that in a second. Okay. Borders. Let's see what else is here. Logo. These are cute. There's a lot of really cute little sayings. And I've used these for like multiple classes. So there's lots of cute little things in here. They're kind of words and sayings and they're seasonal, that kind of thing. Text. So the online version of this software does have about 20 fonts on it. Okay. So what people's problem was with this is that they only had 20 fonts to work with. There is a little downloadable program that allows you to use your TrueType fonts on your computer. But the new software that downloads on your computer allows you to use your TrueType fonts on your computer, the ones that are in your font file. Okay, so that's the one thing that I can't do on this online version of the software. I don't have access to my thousands of fonts that are on my computer. So I do use, when I really need fonts, I use the on my computer version. Okay, that's one of the differences. But there are 20 nice fonts in here, and for the most part, I've used these and they turn out great, and I use them a lot. So when they first started using this software, there was only about 5 or 6. Now there's 20. So I feel like I have more fonts to use. So they're here under text. And then here's some of the designs that came in with my premium functions. So like I've got the rhinestones. So this one has, you know, like my rhinestone alphabet and some of my cute little designs that came with that package. These are ones I paid for. And the stamp design. So here's some of the patterns that I can make for rubber stamps. And let's see what else have we got here. Oh, the line embossing. So these were the embossing set. Some of these, we used these in a class once. These were really, some of these are really pretty. And then there is region embossing. So these were all things that came in with my premium package. And let's see, what else did I have down? Oh, the foiling. Yeah, the foiling had some really pretty things too. So these were all designs that I got when I purchased those packages. Okay. So those are all here as well. So I have access to like everything that I bought and everything right here. The only thing with this software I don't have access to is my thousands of TrueType fonts on my computer. They made this little program that you could use to bring them in and then they came down up with the downloadable version. So if I really need a specialized font that only I can get with that, I do use the on computer version of this. Okay, but most of the time I use this because I find it very, very, very user friendly. Okay, so I need to turn my page again. We went through all those. So that's all we've gotten through all of the little file menus, and it's pretty, you know, there's not a ton of stuff up here. Most of it's going to be fairly familiar to you. Okay. All right. So opening a project, that's what we're going to do. I'm going to show you a couple of things. We're going to click some stuff, and I'm going to bring some stuff up on the screen, show you what you can do with it. This kind of starts on page 6 of the manual, so you can kind of reference that. Okay. So I picked, I'm going to delete this one. So I'm going to go to the basic, and I'm going to pick, again, one of my shapes. Let's get the square with the little squiggles around it, with the zigzags. Okay. I can move it by grabbing it with my mouse. I can move it around the screen. I can change the size by grabbing a corner and pulling it out. That will keep it in aspect ratio so that it is still square. If I want to skew it, I can grab the sides and I can make it longer. If I don't like that, I can hit undo at the top. Okay. This green circle at the top allows me to rotate it, so then I can rotate it 360 degrees by just grabbing the little circle and rotating it. Okay. There are a couple of other ways to size. So let's say this square, I know exactly how big I need it to be. I can select it. So I just clicked on it and it's now selected. You can see the selection boxes around it. If I go to the properties, that was that little line with the little square with the lines in it, I can go in here, and right now my square is 7.42 inches square. Let's say I would like it to be 6 inches square. I just typed in 6, and you notice underneath here that it says maintain aspect ratio. That is checked. So if I just hit enter on my keyboard and close the box, it has now made my square exactly 6 inches. So this is another way to get exact precision. You can also rotate here with exact precision. So let's say I know I want that square to be on point. So I want to rotate it 45 degrees. I'm going to hit enter on my keyboard. Now if I move the box, you can see that my square is now rotated. The other thing that's neat, they added this not terribly long ago, is they added this little percentage resize. So I can click on that, and let's say I want my square to be 75% the size it is. If I knew how big I needed it, and I click OK, then it will resize it to 75% of the original size. So that's all under properties. Okay. Trying to make sure that I didn't miss anything in properties. Okay. The other couple things that are in here, if you can see, let's say I would like to see what my square looks like in a different color. Right now, the fill, there's color, the fill is blank, and the outline is black. Okay, well, let's say I would like mine to be filled with green. So I can just click on the little square. It'll then fill it with green, so I can see what it looks like. Sometimes it's easier to see on the screen if you fill your things with color. Okay. The line type is underneath. So remember, I told you we could decide if I want this to be a cutting or a drawing line. I can leave it under the first, which is the default. So it would either cut or draw, cut or draw. Let's say I want this only to be a cutting line. Then I would choose cutting line. I only want it to be a drawing line. I would select drawing line. So that's how I did the instruction and the pattern for the scan and cut covers, because I wanted to draw or write the instructions on it for you, so you had all of the information right on the pattern piece. So those items were just drawing, and then the outline that cuts was just cutting. So then the machine knows the difference between the two. Okay, So it's kind of cool. You can also make different kinds of lines down here. So let's say I wanted this to be, let's say we put another line through the middle of this because we wanted to fold it in half. I could have made it a dashed line. So the dash pattern, there's all these little dash lines here. That's how you make folds in your cards. Let's say we wanted to make a card and we wanted it to fold in the center, and I used one of the dashed line patterns so that it would fold easily. Okay, so that gives you some options of how the lines will cut. Okay, turn my page. So let's say we're done with our project here. We like this project and we want to save it. To save the project, remember we had this little project title box up here. I'm going to go up and I'm going to click up there. I'm going to title this square. I'm just going to type in a title, and then I'm going to click on the overwrite this project, or save as we know it. Okay, so I'm going to click save. Saving this project is completed. I'm going to click OK. And I can find my project in my projects. So if I click on the little button up here on the left that says my projects, if I look there, well, it might not be there. Sometimes it takes a minute. I have to refresh them. So there's a little refresh button here. It's like a little circle. So if I refresh it, there we go. Now it's going to show up in my projects. So if your project isn't showing up there yet, just click the little round circle with the 2 arrows and it'll show up. So here it is right here on the left. Okay. So I've got it saved now. Well, now I need to get it to my scan and cut to cut out or to draw, whichever I chose. All right. So to do that, I'm going to use the download button. So I'm going to click download. I have 2 choices. Since my scan and cut talks to the software now, because I have that all set up, I have the choice of downloading to my PC. So I'm going to, if I click on that one, it will bring up my save as box. And if you notice down here, it says save as type, it's an FCM file. That's the native format for the scan and cut. So I would then download it to a stick, to my computer, whatever I wanted. So I'm going to choose my desktop. I just titled it square, and I'm going to hit save. And it's going to download that FCM file, which is now on my desktop. Okay, so it's pretty easy and pretty straightforward. Then I also have the scan and cut transfer option. So if I want to send it directly to my scan and cut, I click on scan and cut transfer, and it says the scan and cut transfer is ready. Your machine does not need to be on. So like my machine's not on in the living room, but when I turn it on, that design that I just sent, that square, will be on the machine that I can click on it and bring it up to cut it. Okay? So it's pretty cool. And for those of you, there might be a couple of you, I think most of you have replaced your original machines. The original machine was not wireless, the CM550. So you will not have, your machine will be registered here, and your machine will not allow you to have the wireless option. So this will not be an option for you. You have to use the download to your computer or to a stick instead. Okay? So that's our 2 options for saving and to download. Okay, we did that. We're using the, and then when you're using the tablet, I'm trying to keep up with my notes, sorry. When you're using your tablet, the only option you have is the scan and cut transfer option. You cannot download from your tablet or your iPad to like a USB stick or to your tablet, because it only allows the wireless transfer. So it is handy. So if you happen to be using it, like I sit in bed and make things, I can send it to my machine through my tablet, but it just won't let me download it anywhere. But it saves it. I always save it in my designs, my projects, so that I can access those anytime I want. Okay? All right, so are there any questions about downloading? We saved. Is this all starting to sound a little more familiar to you? Or have I put everybody to sleep? Somebody just put a little crying face up. Is that what happened? What have I not gone over? Somebody put the little crying face up. Yes, Denise, you can. So that, remember one of the buttons we talked about the last time we had a scan and cut class. There you can scan, and one of the options is to scan directly to Canvas Workspace. So I often do that, or I save to Canvas Workspace. So like for instance, I will show you some things that I have done that with. I'm going to go back to my projects quickly here. When I do those permanent bonded applique designs of Doris's, these items here, like these horses down here and the sun and all these, are all things that I have scanned on the scan and cut and sent to the software to do some final cleanup. So yes, it's very easy to do. So they talk about both back and forth. They didn't used to. The software did not talk. You couldn't go from the machine to the software. You could only go from the software to the machine. But now you can go both directions, which is very useful. Okay. All right, so let's go back here. Let's talk a little bit about text. So to do the text, it's actually very easy. We're just going to go get lettering. Our text is down here. We're going to pick font. Let's see, which one looks good? Let's try this one. Okay, and then you'll get your text will show up here on the screen. To get what you want to type in there, you have to double click inside the little box. So just double click, and then you'll get a cursor, backspace, and I'm going to just type my name. Okay, and then I'm going to click on the white space somewhere to finish. So there's my name. All I did was type it. I double clicked inside the little square to activate the text tool. And then I clicked on the white to finish. If you hit enter, you will actually have another space. So like if I would have gone back here, whoops, there we go. Let's do that again. So if I would have typed my name and hit enter, nothing happened. If I think it's control enter, remember shift enter or control enter, it'll drop you down to another space on this one. Nope, this one doesn't do that. This one you have to do each line separately. I forgot. The one on the computer will let you do multiple lines at once. So this one, you just have to do one line. So if I wanted my first name, then I would click on the white space to get my the first line, and then I would go back and get my text tool again and bring this down, double click on this one to get my last name. So this one is a little bit more limited that way, but it's not impossible. Okay, so we've got my name. So we'll do a couple more things with these. Okay, I can edit my letters. So let's say I have my Janice selected. I can go back to the properties box because we talked about this before. Now, whatever you have selected, those properties will now be available. So I want to click properties now, and it looks a little different than it did before. So I still have the size, so I can resize my letters with the exact measurements I want. I can rotate my letters. But then the next thing down is a little different. It gives me the option of changing the letters here. So I can, in the text box, I have Berlin right now chosen, but let's say I want it to be Antique Oakland Bold. So I just changed it to that, and now my letters are the other font. So that is a very quick way to change the letters and look at the different fonts available. Okay, So you do that in the properties box. That's a funky looking one. That's called Bengal. Berlin is what I had. Yep, that's that one. And then there's character spacing. So you can also adjust how close or how far apart the letters are. So if you need them a little closer, you can squish them in a little bit. If you want them a little further apart, you can hit the plus sign and they go further apart. So this is specific to lettering, and those are in the properties. Okay. And then the same thing that there was there before, if we want to color our letters, we can make a fill here. Let's say we want them to be pink and the outline is black. And I can tell it what type of line I want it to be, cutting, or drawing, and so on. So that's all in the properties box. Okay. Turn my page again in a second. All right, so let's try rotating. We can rotate our letters. So I'm going to rotate the letters. Let's do them 90 degrees and see what happens. All right, so then they're sideways. All right, so that's nice. And I can also manually do that still with the little green circle. So there's a lot of tools here that you can use to do your text. So let's say, whoops, second here, let's go undo again. There we go. Let's say then that I would like my text the way it is, but I want them perfectly aligned on each other. So I'm going to select the first one. I'm going to hold my shift key down and I'm going to select the second one. Okay. I have them both selected. You can probably see the little purple boxes around them. I would then like to align these so that they're perfectly aligned on each other. So I'm going to go up to the Edit tab. Edit has a lot of those alignment tools and our specialty tools to do different things. So we're going to hit Edit, and then I can align. So here I can align them to the left. Let's push the box so we'll do them to the left. So now they're aligned to the left. I can go back to Edit. I can align them in the center. I can go back to Edit. I can line them on the right. Okay. So then you can get everything. I can align them at the top. Well, that doesn't look very good, so we probably don't want that. I can align them in the middle. So it's going to look the same as the top in this case. And then I can align them at the bottom, and that also looks the same. So I want them to be aligned in the center. And then, whoops, a second here. I'm going to go back down to, let's move them back to where the kind of a similar position, and then we'll redo them. There we go. So I'm going to click that one. I'm going to click my shift key, click the second one to select it. Now I'm going to align them in the center. So then they're centered on each other. Okay. The other things you can do in Edit, if I need to copy or duplicate, let's say I wanted to duplicate those two words, or if I just wanted to copy them, then I could go back up to Edit, and then I can paste them. And then I would have a second copy of all that stuff. Okay. So all of those are the basic things that we use when we're arranging patterns. We will group or ungroup. So let's get rid of the second word name. And I think I want to move this down so it's a little closer. So if you just need to move a little bit, sometimes I get it off if I start moving it with my mouse. So if I hold my control key down on my keyboard and then the little arrows that are on your keyboard, you can move them down. So I think it's either shift or, oh, it's a shift. I'm sorry. It's a shift again. Every software is different. So I have, okay. I will answer that in just a second, Jan. Oh, okay. Penny, the difference between cutting slash drawing, that was in the properties. So let me go back there so everybody can see that. Oops, got to have something selected though, sorry. You have to have something selected for the properties to come up. Okay, so the first one says cutting slash drawing. That means that it can be either drawn or cut. That same line can be drawn or cut. If I chose just cutting, you cannot draw it. If I choose drawing, you cannot cut it. That's the difference between those. Okay, does that make it more clear? So if you choose cutting, drawing, it will be either one. Okay. What if you wanted lettering in a circle? Okay, Jan, so that was a very good question. In this software, this is how I did it when I needed it. This software on the browser or online will not allow you to do circle or arrayed lettering except manually. The new software that you download to your computer has now a pathing tool, or you can array your letters and do like circles and stuff. So that one is done on the computerized version one. You can, though, ungroup these items and then you can do it. So I still did it with this software. I just went up to edit and I would, I have to go to right click and I have to, let's see, remove. I have to think on this software because this is that was a very good question though. So you can break apart these things. I have to remember where they put it though, just a second. You can break apart the letters so that they're not grouped together anymore, and then you can move them separately. So that's how I did it before. The new software though, they just put a pathing tool so you can do arrayed or curved letters on the one that you download on your computer. And it works fine. It's just like it's sort of like my PE design pathing tool that I use. So, but there is a way to break these up and I'm trying to remember how to do it. So you have to give me just a second and I'll figure it out. It's been a while since I've done it. Let's see. Order. Oh, okay, here we go. We can edit text. We can, what else can we do? I thought it was under right click. Remove, overlap, subtract, divide. Oh, divide. I think it's just divide. So then if you click divide, then each letter is separate. So I'll show that to you again. So here's my last name. Let's try that one more time. This one is all grouped in one grouping right now. But if I go up to the edit and I go down to the bottom where it says process overlap, there's a button that says divide. So if I click divide, then each one of these letters now is now separate so that I can work with them separately. You know, if I want this letter to be here, I want this one to be down here, I can make these into a curved path by just moving them. And that's how I did it for a long time because I didn't have the other ability. Okay. And now they're all each individual designs. And that's how I did it. I would just, sometimes what I do is I would just draw with one, like the pathing tool, one of these little drawing tools, and then I would just lay my letters on the tool. And that's how I did it. It's basically how the pathing tool works in the other software. So, okay. You can just get those letters into individual pieces. Very good questions. You're ready for advanced software already. Okay. Let me see. We did the fill color. We talked about the fill color in the properties. Remember that? That was in the properties box. Trying to make sure I don't miss anything. We talked about the fill colors and then line types. Okay. Let me turn my page again. Oh yeah, we can select the display settings. That again we talked about this a little bit. So under project, then I can choose if I want which mat that I want. I can choose what mat I want. Yes, you can. That's another way to do. I've done it that way too, Jan. Sometimes I was looking when I did letters, I wanted a specific path for them to go on. So yes, I can go in and use the if you just want it on a circle, yeah, you can do that. You can just go get the circle and the basic shapes and then just move your letters around the circle. Yeah. Yep, that's perfect. That's a good way to do it. Then, so under project, here's where I can change then my mat. So if I needed to change to the bigger mats. So yeah, so what Jan was asking was, can you use the circle? So yeah, so I could just go get my basic circle. So often when I'm doing this, I'm having to, I find the circle. Where is it? It's down here somewhere. Here it is. Here's a circle. Okay. So let's say we wanted my name Janice to be on that circle. Let's make the circle a little bigger. Okay. Or if we wanted it to be curved, you could just kind of go like this. Let's say we wanted to be like that. And then I could just take my letters and I could just lay them on the pad, each individually, because remember I divided them. And then you still have the letters. Oops. Didn't get my letters. Let's see if I can get the A here, or the I. Pull them up here where they're out of the way. Sometimes it's hard to get a hold of the item that you want. Okay, let's pull this back down up here again. There we go. So see how I'm moving my letters? Isn't that cool? So I mean, yes, you can do everything in this software. It might just be just slightly more manual. Okay. So there is a way that we could have done our curved letters. Just use the circle tool, the circle, one of the shapes, and put it on there. And you just have to have your letters separate. And it does work very well. I mean, I've done all kinds of curved and arrayed things with this software, even though I didn't have that pathing tool. But they did add it to the new software that you can download. So, okay. That was one of the things that people were asking for, to make it a little bit more automated. So you didn't have to do it so manual, but I did a lot of manual ones. It's not a big deal. It's very similar to some of the digitizing software. So, okay. All right. So that was very good questions. All right. So let's go ahead and look at some tracing now. So like some of the things that we've been talking about have been, I wanted to give you some page numbers. Like we started the project and we did some downloading, and then we talked about the text. Those are on like pages 8 to 10 in the manual. And then we arranged some patterns, and we talked about the edit tab a little. Those are on page 12. Changing the properties was on page like 13 of the manual. That display settings, or where I could change my mats and all that, was on page 15. Some of the things that we did with the letters just now, with changing, those are in towards the end of the manual in a more advanced area. So you guys are way ahead of me today. So very good. All right. So let's do a little tracing. So this is something else that I do a lot in this software. I'm just going to go ahead and click new. So I have a clean piece of paper, and it's going to ask me if I want to leave, and that's fine. Because we don't need to save that one. We were just kind of showing some of the stuff. Okay. So when I trace a design, there are a couple things that I have to look for. First of all, I need a graphic. So it needs to be a JPEG, a GIF, a PNG, or a bitmap, which are common picture files. We need to have a pretty clear graphic, and I also can, and that was one of the things that Denise asked a little bit ago, I also often will scan things with the scan and cut and trace it and send it to the software, because the tracing ability in the machine is very, very good. The tracing ability in the software is okay as long as I have a really good graphic, but I like to use the software to do the cleanup. So like some of those horses and stuff that I showed you earlier, I traced those and scanned them in the machine, in the scan and cut, and sent them to the software to do the final cleanup, because I can see on the bigger screen better. Okay. So I do a lot of that stuff with the machine. The tracing ability in the machine is phenomenal. The tracing ability in the software is okay as long as the picture is good. So, okay. So let's go ahead and trace something. I started a new project. I want to trace. So remember, there was an icon up here on this toolbar that was tracing. It's the third one. It says image tracing. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on that. And there, I happen to have the new enhanced image tracing. We're not going to use that tonight, but that's why my screen is going to look slightly different than yours. I'm just going to use the normal tracing. That is what you will have on your, unless you have this enhanced one. Okay, so we're just going to use normal tracing tonight. And when I get the normal tracing screen comes up, it lets me choose a graphic, or look, select the scanned image from the scan and cut. So I can actually just scan it in the scan and cut, and I can trace it here, or I can scan it and trace it in the machine and send it to my software. Okay, so we're just gonna choose one from my computer tonight. So I'm gonna click choose file, and in my little folder here, beginning Canvas class, and I'm gonna give you this graphic too so you can practice tracing. I have this little picture. It's the little scan and cut logo that we put on our scan and cut cover. So I'm going to click open, and it's going to come up on my screen. There are a couple of options over here. I can either get an outline, or I can use the tracing option of color. So if I use the outline and click preview down at the bottom, I had to kind of scroll up a little bit. There's a little button that says preview. If I just choose outline, you should be able to see this fairly clearly on the screen. There's kind of a light blue outline all around the word scan and cut. But you'll notice that part of it is not outlined because I chose outline. So in other words, it's just around the outside edges of these letters. See, it didn't trace the N in the middle of N, the scan and cut part. It didn't scan the inside of my A. It didn't scan, so there's things that it didn't scan by using the word outline. Okay, let's try the other option, color. So if I choose color, I wanted to remove the background. In other words, the background, the white on the background, I don't want that traced. I just want the words. And now I'm going to go down to the bottom, or I'm sorry, I'm going to check how many colors. I want to get as few colors as possible on this one because there are only two colors. It's white and blue. All right, so I'm going to tell it to get as little colors as possible. And then I'm going to click preview again. And now when I look at it, I can see the blue lines, and they're around all of the letters plus the middle of my A, and the N is now scanned on the middle of that square in the center. So now that is all traced, okay? So if you're happy with that, you can click OK. And what it will do is we just traced it. Do you want, and then it gives you, this is something new. They added this not terribly long ago. Confirm, do you want to paste the selected image on the work area? In other words, do you want to put the picture up there on your work area? I don't, so I'm going to tell it no. I just want the tracing on my work area, okay? And then here is my scan and cut. That's that thing that we just did. Now, it is all in pieces, as you can see, okay? And sometimes when I trace with the software, I do have to look at it a little bit because sometimes it wants to try to do things twice. And I'm looking at this now, and I don't know if you can see it very well on the screen, but I can see that the letter N looks darker than all the other tracing. So I'm going to click on the letter N up here, and I bet it's traced twice. So I'm going to grab this with my mouse, and I'm going to pull it down, and look, there were two N's. So I'm going to delete this one. I don't need this one. Because if you tried to cut it, it would try to cut twice. So I'm going to get rid of that one. I can also see the same thing if I look at the letter A. That center section looks double darker than everything else. So I'm going to pull the little middle of the A down, and I'm going to click delete. And now I think I'm happy with that. By the way, the tracing, image tracing stuff is on, of the manual is on page roughly 16 and 17. And then the scan and cut transfer one, you know, like Denise asked about, can we scan it on the scan and cut and send it to the software? That's on about 18 and 19. So yes, you can. It does have it in the manual. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is this, obviously, you can see it's hanging off my mat. So it's too large for my mat right now. So I'm actually going to select all. So if I go to edit, that was another thing that's there, is select all. So I can select everything, and you can see that it's in several little pieces right now. I would like it to be one piece. So if I go back to edit again, I can group it. Okay, so there's group. Now this is one piece. And now I can size it to whatever size I want. So I would like to go to the properties, and I want to tell it exactly how big I want it to be. I would like it to be 8 inches long. I'm going to type in the length of 8 inches, and I'm going to click enter on my keyboard. And we'll close that box. And now there is my scan and cut, all traced, ready to cut. And it is 8 inches long. Okay, so you can see it's pretty easy to trace in here. You do have to have a pretty decent graphic. It can't be real pixely. Just make sure you choose a pretty nice, clean graphic, okay? Because it does a very good job of tracing. Okay, trying to get my page turned here just like it's sticking. All right, so any questions on the tracing? Remember, to start the tracing, we just hit the little leaf or the image tracing button to get started. Is everybody still with me? I hopefully that you're understanding some of the stuff. That's why I'm glad I have videos. And then once you have your manual, you can actually work along with me. So, okay. So that is the tracing. Now remember the other thing that we talked about you could do, I skipped about 5 or 6 pages in the middle of the book. That was all the kind of more advanced editing abilities that I didn't want to get into tonight. So we skipped about 5 or 6 pages in the middle. It was like from about 21 or so to about 28. And we'll go back to some of those in some projects later. But the other thing I really wanted to show you is how to import a design into. Remember, we said we could import a design. So I'm not going to save my trace tonight because I already have this saved. I've traced this quite a few times and it's saved in my projects. So I'm just going to hit new, which is the create the new project. And it asks me, you want to leave? And yep, I want to leave. And now I just have my new workspace again. And the other thing that will be in that little upload I do later this evening will be this it's a rolled flower. And I love to do these little, I used to do quilling as a kid, the paper rolling, and I like to make rolled roses with cardstock. So that is what I'm going to give you. It was a little freebie that I got on a website. I think it was called Birds Cards. They have a lot of really cool freebies there if you like to make cards and like paper stuff. Oh my gosh, there was just tons of cool stuff there. But I need to import that because it's an SVG file. And I need to import it so that I can maybe do something or resize it, something like that. So to do that, I'm going to click on the little button that says SVG, other words, the import button. So I'm going to click import. Then it brings me up this little choose file box. And I'm going to choose the file just like I did with the tracing. And it's inside that beginning canvas file that I have. And here it is. It says rolled flower by bird. And it is a SVG file. So I'm going to click on that. And I'm going to click open. Then I am going to click OK. And there's the flower. So then if let's say I want it, I would like it to be a little smaller. So I'm just going to kind of bring it down. And then I would like, it looks like I could probably cut maybe 4 or 5 of those on a mat. So I'm going to go up to edit. I'm going to copy it. Then I could go to edit and I could paste. So there's another one. And we could put that one up here. If we wanted to align them, I could hit my shift key, select the second one, and then let's say edit, align center, so that they're, whoops, that's not what I wanted. We want them to be, we need to do, let's do undo. I always do this, don't mind me. Click, shift key, and click on the other one. We're going to do edit, align, middle. There we go. I'll know I've got it. Get it. Okay, so then there's middle. So now I would actually like a couple more on here. So I've got them both selected. I can go to edit. I can copy those. Then I can go to edit and I can paste. So now there's another set and we can bring those down. Okay, so that there's a little editing. All I did was bring in an SVG file. Do the shortcut keys work inside this software? Some will, but remember, Denise, most things don't because you're online. You're in a browser. So it's not the same as being on your computer. So like if you do like control V is copy. So yeah, actually control V is paste, right? So yeah, so it actually does. Some of them do and some of them don't. I've noticed that some work and some don't. I'm not a very good shortcut key person because I don't remember them. So I just use the edit buttons. So yeah, some of them do. So like control V is paste, right? Yeah, so that one does work. Yep, try some of them that you know, and you may find that some of them work, yes. When you're on a browser, things are different than when you're on a computer program that's on your computer, so. Okay. All right, so let's see. So we can edit this, we can delete. I'm going to delete a couple of these. Let's delete these. Get some of these out of here. And I'm going to select a couple of these and pull them down. Oops. There we go. Like that. So then there'd be a mat that I'd have 4 flowers to be on there. Let's see. I'm not sure what's copy. What's the keyboard shortcut for copy? Is it Control C? Is that what it is? Let's see if it works. Control V I know is paste. Yeah, it does. So some of them work, Denise. Yeah, give them a try. I'm just not a shortcut person, so I don't know them very well. I'm sorry. Okay, so that was on page 28, the importing. So if you buy SVG files, if you get freebies, there's tons of freebies. That this is how then you can get into those. You can work with them, resize them, maybe need to do a little work on like editing of something. That's how you get them in, is use the import button. Okay. Then the other thing I wanted to tell you that's in the manual, this was kind of on page 28, all of this stuff. The 29 and 30 in the manual is a really nice list of the functions. So it's a nice chart of the toolbar icons and their functions. So if you can't remember what these are, those couple of pages are really good to make a copy of it, maybe laminate it and set it next to your computer, because then it tells you what these things are, okay? Page 31 in the manual is about error messages. So if you keep getting error messages in the software, it tells you what some of those are and why you might be getting them. And then the last page of the manual, page 32, is regarding managing your account and activating the wireless. It talks about where you have to go to do that. Okay. Okay, Jan, that's a whole different procedure that is not done in the software. So if you need a cut file from your from a PES file. If you go back and watch the class that I did on, it's been about a couple, 3 months ago, I did one that talked about cutting fabric. It was the first cutting fabric one, and I showed how to make your embroidery files into cut files. So if you go back and watch that, it's from a couple of months ago. And it was the first, I cut fabric twice. The first one is the one you want to watch. I can't remember exactly when that was. It was maybe April that we did that. And I showed you step by step how to make your designs from an embroidery file. Okay? Because that's not done in the software at all. Okay, so I ran out of notes. That was the end of my notes. Do any of you have more questions? This is just a taste of the software. It does a lot, and it's actually kind of fun, and it's very user-friendly. So I would tell you, get your account. Just start going in, and we'll do some projects in here. We're going to start doing projects. That's why I wanted to do this class first, so you kind of knew what the icons and stuff were before we got too involved with making things in it. But I do a lot of stuff in here. You could see all my projects that were in there. I've done a lot of stuff. I'm going to leave this, and I'll just show you some of the projects. Most of these are my own projects that I've done, and things like the scan and cut cover ends, and the logos, and these are all things that I've made over the years. I've made signs for the parking lot, that kind of thing. Did you print your manual or save on USB and take to Staples? Oh, it's not very many pages, Marianne. I just printed mine. It's about 30 pages. So I just printed mine myself. It's not that many. I have mine in a 3-ring binder with a within like little sleeves. So, but you can see some of the things I've made. I've done stars, and I've done hexagons and circles, and I like rhinestones, so I've created a lot of rhinestone designs. We'll do the rhinestone class. That's one of the next ones we'll do. That's why I wanted to do this first, because we needed to talk about the software a little bit before we get into making things. Some of these are I did split letter tiles, so that these are all been done in this software. It's very user friendly. Okay. So I think once you get in there and start playing around a little bit, I think you'll really enjoy it. Okay. Okay. So the easiest cutting software I have found. Yes, it is. I did. I think it is very easy. And the reason I chose the online version is I think this one's easier than the one you download on your computer. It's not as cumbersome to find what you're looking for. And most people really get this software. So that's why I thought we should start with this. And then we'll talk about the other when we need to. Okay. So this is the software I usually use. I actually kind of like it. I have another one that I use if I need more advanced options. But when I'm just doing most of my basic stuff, I use this and I have no problems with it. So, okay. All right, so I will upload the rest of the stuff to the Dropbox tonight. I have to do a couple of editing things for the Dropbox, so it may take me an hour or so to do that. And then there'll be the little graphic for you to trace. There'll be the little flower for you to import, so you can do that. And then there's 3 manuals in there. Okay, so those will all be on Dropbox for you shortly. Any other questions? Oh yeah, I think all the classes will be fun. Like a lot of these things were classes that you're seeing in my projects. So I've done a lot of different classes over the years. We're going to be doing a really cute class at the end of July, and it's going to be a Christmas class, and that will be done in the software. So we'll do that one in the software. Okay. All right, everybody. So if you have any questions, make sure you message me. Now, next week is the 4th of July weekend, and Jan's taking the weekend off. So we will not have class next Sunday night. Then following Sunday will be the software class. So we'll start working on Christmas in July, and that will be a software class. The second Sunday in July. So, okay. Thanks, everybody. So if you have any questions, message me, email me. And otherwise, I'll be seeing you in a couple weeks. Thanks, everybody. Good night.